Hi guys, welcome back. So in this video we will create an entire form which will look similar to this, as form is a prime component of creating web app and website, and making an engaging and easy operating form can make your user to step up their process. And Hope UI comes with multiple elements to put in your forms like input, area text, range slider, etc. And using them you can have more than one use case. Hope UI Pro is integrated with powerful plugins and properly built CSS for each and every element, which will make no inconvenience in building a proper design for your form. So I'm Asad Sheikh from Iqonic Design, and let's start with building a form in Hope UI. And we will make a similar form using Hope UI from the sketch. So let's start. So now let's create the form. First of all, we need a card wherein we will place the form. Then form will be consistent with its input. So first let's create the card. For the card we will be having div class equals to card. Next we will be having the card body. Inside the card we have div class equals to card body. In this card body we'll have our form. Since we will be setting all this in a row and column, we will be adding one more class called row in your card body after the card body. After that we will be creating a form. To create it we will take another div with the class equals to form group. Since we are creating a form, so the class needs to be a form group class. After that create input, and we will take another separate div, and in this div we will be having a label and an input type for the list of text. To create a label using a label tag, let the label name be the product name. After that label we have this input, so the input type equals to text, and then class has a form controls for the CSS of the label. Now this input will be having a placeholder. So for a placeholder, that will be a placeholder equals to enter product name. So we have created a label and an input. Now we will be assigning a unique ID to both of this. The ID equals to product name. Similarly, the ID will be given to the label as for equals to the product name. We also want a margin bottom to the inputs. So we will give the class name as margin bottom in the input. We will be having the class name as margin bottom equals to 3, that is 3 pixels margin from the bottom. Now we have created a simple input for the form, and this is the output. So here we can see that is the cart, wherein we have created a form which consists of label, call this product name, and input field wherein we can type anything. Now to create a text area we will be needing another division. In it we will be having a label. I am using a plugin Quill to create a text area. Firstly, let the label name be description, and then in there we will set ID equals to editor. We have taken the ID editor because in this ID we have written JS for the Quill plugin, as we can see it in the Hope UI Pro.js. Here this is the JS for that plugin, and it has a unique ID which is editor. So we have used editor here. Now we will be using the style, that is style equals to height, which is 200 pixels. So in Paste we have created the text area. Let's see the live preview of this, and here is the description in the label, and below that we have a text area created by the Quill. Now we will be implementing the Hope UI slider. So to do that, first we have to start with the row and column and placing everything in a row and column. So in division I will give class equals to row. In this row we want our plugin to be placed within the 6th column. So division class equals to call lg6. Also we need to give another class, that is my3, so that we can create margin from the open bottom. Now we will need to give the label using the label tag. Let's say label be price. Since this is the form, we will give class equals to form label. Now we have created our label for the slider. Now in another division we will be firstly given class equals to from group. So this is the form, we will be always using the class from the group. And another class has the product range because the CSS is written in this class. So we are taking the project range class and also the margin from the top by adding mt3 in the class. Now we will take another division called class equals to range slider. Here in this range slider class, we have the JS written to implement the no UI slider plugin, and also we have the ID equals to product price range. This ID is given since we need to call the JS of the no UI slider over here. So we have created the slider and label. Next thing is to create a range. So for the range, we will creating another division class. Class equals to diff-flex justify content between. In this, we will be taking into small text, and for the small value, it's $50, and we will give for the upper value $200. Now we will be giving the ID to these values, as ID equals to lower value and ID equals to upper value respectively. So in this page, we have created a table of 6 columns, taking label as a price and then the JS for the UI slider, and in the end, we have specified the upper and lower value. So let's see just the result of it. So here we can see the range slider from $50 to $200. We can take any range for this, it's just on you what you want. Now on the following page, we will make a quantity button and I will show you how to make it real quick. For that, we will take a division and class equals to column IG6. As we want it in the 6th column, also we want diff-flex and align item at the center. So we want the margin from top and bottom has 3. So my3. Then we also need another division for the label. So class equals to me4, as we want the label with margin 4. Now as this is a form, we will take class equals to form label. So we have created the label called the quantity. We will take another division for the functionality of addition and subtraction in this quantity. In this division, we will take class equals to button group. Then there is a IQ quantity button, so we can have the functionality of button. And there is a IQ quantity button, so we can have the functionality of button for the addition. Then me4 for the margin. Also we have to add data. So data quantity equals to btn. For the functionality, then the role to be group. Now to add the button, we will make button. The type should be button and the class equals to btn sm because we want the button to be small. And also for the CSS of the button, we will write btn outline light and IQ quantity minus. This button is added for the subtraction functionality and we need to add a SVG of that button. So we will take the SVG of button from the bottom. I will copy it just and place it in the button. Now we have created a button for the minus, and in the similar way we will create a button for the plus. So we will make the entire button from here and place it just down here. And we need to change only one class, that is changing IQ button from minus to plus. So we get the functionality of plus in this button. We'll make the SVG of plus and then replace it with the SVG of minus in this new button. So we got 2 of this button, that is minus and plus. Now in between we need to display the quantity. So we'll make an input type equals to text and then class equals to btn. And we need btn to be small, so btn sm. Then CSS for the bottom, so btn outline light. And for the functionality data, quantity equals to input to show any default value. We will take value equals to 10. If we want to display 10 as the default value, we want the title to be quantity. As we want it just to show, we will give randomly. In this way, we will be showing a value that will be ready only. So this way we have created a division where we have delable, we have add functional for plus and minus, we have the input where it will show the quantity. By default, it will display 10 here. So let's see the output. Here you can see the label called quantity. And by just clicking it on it, we'll be subtracting, and by here you can just add. And we have created a quantity button. Super easy, right? Now we'll create a switch for the from that you can use for the multiple purpose in your web. For that, we will create a division. In this, we will create the class equals to from check from switch. This class are taken from the CSS of the switch and also my3. That is for the margin from top and bottom. Now in this division, we will be having an input and the class of this input will be from check input, by which we will get the CSS of input. And as it is a type of checkbox, we will give the type equals to checkbox. And we will give a specific ID to it. So ID equals to switch check and checked we will keep empty. For this label, we will take the label tag. Let the label be shipping at urban areas. And for that label class equals to from check label. CSS of the label is written at this class. As we have given the unique ID at the input, we will add the same for switch check. So we have created the switch. Now let's see the output, and this is, we can see, you can just turn on and off here, and this is the switch. Now we will see how to create the checkbox. So for that we will take a division with class equals to row. Now in this row we want 6 columns, so class column ig6, and we also want a margin of 3 from the top and bottom, so my3. Now in this division we need a label, so we will add a new label tag and let the label be colors. Now in the label we need to add a class call from the label for the CSS part of it. Now here we have created the label for our checkbox. Following to that, we have to create an input and another label for what we are creating a label. So let's add another division, and in that we will have the classes from check for the CSS of the checkbox, and we will also want a margin from the bottom, so MB1. Now to add an input in the class, we will take the input tag, then type equals to checkbox, and then class as from check input for the CSS of the checkbox, and an ID as an example check1. After input we will add a new label tag, and here the label is color red. For that label we will give the class as from check label, and also we will call the ID from input as for example check1. I want 3 more checkbox, so I will copy the code 3 times, and now we have to do a small step, and we will change the ID hash for the checkbox 2. I will keep ID as example check 2 and example check 3 and example check 4 respectively for the following checkbox. And next we will change the label of the checkbox as green, blue, yellow respectively. Now let's see the output. We can see the checkbox 4, checkbox falling under the label's color, and you can select the color. Now by doing just simple step, you can make a checkbox, and it can be used in various forms and multiple web apps. We will create a radio button on the existing page. That can be helpful for you to take input from your users for making a radio button. Take a new division in which class equals to column log6, and also we need a margin of 3 from top and bottom, so my3. Now in the division we will add a label name as rate, and we will give the class to the label as class equals to from label. Doing that, we have created the label for the radio button. Now to implement the radio button, we will take another division with class equals to my3 for the margin, and we will make a new division within with class equals to from check. Here we will be having the input of radio button and a label. So we will take an input tag with type equals to radio names equals to radios, class equals to from check input, as we have the CSS for the radio done in this class. Now we will take a unique ID which is equal to example radio 1. This is how we have created a radio button, and now we will make a label for the following button. So for that, take a label tag with the name fixed and give it a class equals to from check label. As we have the CSS of the radio button on this class, we will call the ID by for equals to example radio 1. Now we want a similar radio button, so for that we will simply copy the code from here and paste it below. Now we will change the ID to radio example 2, and then we will change the label to discount. So basically we have created a label for the radio button, and we have given the input of the same. Then we gave a name to that radio button using the label tag, and have done the same for the second radio button too by changing its ID and label. So now let's check the output. We got the radio button, and we can switch between them. We can similarly make multiple radio buttons for various themes. Now we will create an image uploader button on the current page, using which the user can upload any image from their device. So to do that, we will add a new division with class equals to column log6 and mg3 for the margin. Now in the same division, we will add a label with the name feature image, and the class of label will be from label for the CSS path of that label. Now we will add the input where you can upload the image, and where the type will be file. The class will be from control, and here in the ID for the functionality of image upload, so the JS of UP to the plugin is given, that is ID. Here in the ID for the functionality of image upload, so the JS of U to the plugin is given in this ID, that is custom file. In this ID, the JS of UP plugin is given. So now let's see the output. Here you can see we got the label with the feature image, and by clicking on choose file and choosing a file, we can upload any image just here. And we have made an image uploader with a simple step, and we are all good to go. Now we will add the date picker to our page. Date picker means you can add a calendar outbox from where you can add a date or time. So for adding it to our page using the plugin called data picker. So we'll add the new class equals to column log G and the margin my3. Now we will add the label for this label name, launch date. We will be having the class for the label as class equals to from label, as it has a CSS for that label. Now we will add the input for the date picker with class equals to from control and another flat picking date time. This class is implemented because the JS of the plugin is written in that class called flat picking date time. We also need to enter a type, that is text, and we will add a placeholder as select date. Now we want this to be read only, so we'll convert read only equals to read only. Now let's see the output where you can see the date picker is placed. And just clicking on it, you can see the calendar and you can set the date and time, and this is the functionality of that date picker. Now we will add the single select in our form. The single select is basically a drop box from where you can select the simple items. We will make this similar in our page, so for that add a new division to your page. So we will add the new class equals to column log6 and the margin my3. Now we will add the label for this label name sized. We will be having the class for that label as class equals to from label, as it has the CSS of the label. Now we will use the select tag as it has a select to plugin. In this select tag, we will add the class equals to select to basic single. This is class where the JS of plugin is implemented. JS state is another class for the functionality of select to plugin. We will add two new classes, that is from select and from control. We will give the name as state. We will also give style as width 100%, as we need the width to be 100% obviously. Now in this select tag, we have to give the option. For that we will give the option tag. Let's say it's small, and we will add the value as it. In the same way, we'll add another two options being medium and large. So the value for the medium will be ME and for the large will be LA. In the same way, we have to use the select to plugin. Then we have to use the select tag and further add multiple options to it. Now let's see the output. You can see it by just dropping it here, and you can see the option below. You can also search for the option and select one. This feature has multiple use cases, so you can try it for your project and it will help you make an enhanced web app. Now we will add the multiple option for the drop down, or you can even make the new option by adding the input box itself. So we'll add this to our current page. For that we will make this similar in our page. For that, add a new division to your page. So we will add the new class equals to my3 for the margin. Now we will add the label for this label name size. We will have the class for that label as class equals to from label, as it has the CSS for the label. Now we will use the select tag with class equals to select to automatic tokenizer. As this JS of plugin is written in the class, another class will use it from control from the CSS part of this plugin. Then we will add multiple equals to multiple, as we need multiple item options to be selected. Now we will add the option tag and add the first option as orange. Then the next option is to be black and another option is to be white. And if I want my orange as a default, then I will set selected equals to selected here. Now let's see the result. We can see orange is my default selected. Next we can also select black and white as it's multiple selected. We can also create our new option as we are adding pink and red. This is how you add the multiple select in your web app or page for form. Now lastly, we will add the submit button of our form. We will make the similar in our page. So for that, add a new division to our page. So we will add the new class equals to my3 for the margin. Now as we are about to add a button, so we will use the button tag and we will add the type to submit and the class equals to btn because it is button and we need it primary. So btn primary, and we need a margin from top and bottom, so my3. The name of the button should be submit, so we will write it here. Now let's see the output. We have created the entire form for an e-commerce website. Firstly, we have input and the text area. Down we have this range slider that can slide and set a price. Then we have the switch that can just turn and off, on and off too. We have the checkbox here with the label color, and you can select multiple blocks over here. And there is a radio button. Then we also added the feature image where the user can add the image from their device. Then we have set the date selector where you can select date and time. Further, we can give a single select option where it will work like a Dropbox. Further, we give a single selection option where it will work like a Dropbox. And then we have the multiple selection option from where you can select the multiple option and also add the new option. Then finally, we have a submit button. As we saw, we have 12 unique elements to create this page, and it's very easy. So you can combine multiple options to make a form in Hope UI. And there will be many videos in this series to guide you through the journey of your project using Hope UI. And if you are not a professional and not looking to buy Hope UI Pro, you can just check it out our open source Hope UI project, and you can use it however you like. So till then, like this video, subscribe, click the bell icon and share it to your friends and the community so they can also take advantage of it, because Hope UI is future of admin UI. So till then, hasta la vista.